Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's get into it. Let's talk. The 1st of March is here, and let's get into the college basketball bets and the entire card for this Saturday because apparently the SEC decided that they want to have a day when it comes to scheduling. So hopefully there's nothing on the schedule for you guys because it'll be one where we'll be firmly placed in front of some kind of TV or watering hole, if you will, where we're going to get right into the picks. I'll share with you guys kind of what we have going on. Action-packed day for hockey and basketball. A little recap from yesterday. Split within the NBA. We had a tough one there down the stretch for Kent State that turned my college basketball night unprofitable. And if you guys were with me with a little late night splurge into taking some Nevada action, let me know in the comments because that was a tough one and a horrible, horrible performance as they went against UNLV minus their number one scorer. So that was one where, just kind of have to take it off the chin, and we're back to fight another day. But welcome to the channel for those of you that are new. My name is Mark. I do talk sports betting every single day. For those of you that have been betting with me, within the college basketball arena, this has not been the best, I would say, standard that we've been setting here for the new people. But if we're looking to repeat what we did, in last year in terms of March Madness and taking home the hardware within the college basketball competitions here on YouTube, that's been something where it is kind of one of my bread and butters when it comes to it. But hey, I'm not going to talk about me. We're going to talk about the picks. And if you want to fade me, feel free. Enjoy, because if you've been doing that, you have been profitable. So at least that's something good that you guys can hang your hats on. But I do have 4 best bets in this video. And this is going to be one. We're going to break down the entire card kind of rapid fire because, like I said, there are a ton of games that really do kind of have me. There's going to be some bartender upset with me because I'm going to be asking them to change the channel quite frequently, okay? So make sure you guys have all your ducks in a row when it comes to your viewing experience. A lot of these games, honestly, I don't watch, but I have to watch them because this is all data points for March and in terms of future games, and you really just don't want to look at numbers, but you kind of want to put a deeper story. So the more data points you can collect, the better, okay? But let's get into it, and I do have a pretty firm finger on March Madness within brackets. Usually, if I'm betting college basketball, a lot of times down the stretch, it's more so a hedge out of my bracket. So I am going to be posting some content within kind of where we're at once we have Selection Sunday underway and completed. But let's just smash this board, okay, guys? I'm really hoping for a sweep. We have not got the brooms out. My broom is dusty, and I'm not even using it, so that's absolutely horrible. But let's get into the picks. First game we're going to look at, this is going to be one where Maryland and Penn State, we see a total set at 154.5. Taking Maryland team total over has been highly profitable. The Terps come in here dropping 5.5. And like I said, guys, make sure you have that futures ticket with Maryland. I know that number is shrinking, but Maryland's one of my 5 teams that I have as kind of those middle-of-the-board long shots. Maybe don't have a chance to win it, but if they get to the Final Four, we can lock in some profits and hedge off some positions. Maryland is on that short list for me for sure, okay? Clemson, I'm not going to talk about that game, but just shout out to them for having one of the best seasons in program history. Dabo Swinney must be very proud of the basketball side of that university, but we're not going to talk about the Clemson-Virginia game because there are better games to get into. We're going to scroll down the odds board. The next game that's worth noting, okay, this is going to be Arkansas and South Carolina. Now, this is one where it is a lean. I almost had a play in this game. Arkansas has been taking care of business, but now the Razorbacks go on the road, where if you do look at the ATS numbers, you do look at South Carolina game splits. At home, they are a completely different team. That's why that number has shrunk, laying minus 1.5 at home. It's one of those fishy spots where you want to back Calipari and company. You want to grab the points with Arkansas, but I'm going to have to pull my not-so-fast card because South Carolina could play that spoiler team at home and in front of a raucous crowd. And I kind of lean South Carolina, if we're going to be honest. So that's how I view it. I'm sure Arkansas is going to be a very popular play as well. So I'm not saying I'm right, I'm wrong, but it's very hard to bet against the Gamecocks at home. So I passed on that game, okay? Next, a lot of things too. These lines are absolutely right on the money, and if they're not right on the money, they're right on the money in terms of their handle, and they are laughing behind the scenes because they know that they got everybody by the balls. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I've never missed so many point spreads by just a hook or a full point in college basketball. Usually there are games that come down to free throws, but this is one where it's been eerie this year for the most part. So shout out to Vegas for painting them ceilings gold. But I do want to mention something like even this Chattanooga game. I love Chattanooga in this spot on the road. Back-to-back, let's take them back-to-back. But 9.5 is just kind of right where I would have my number, double-digit win for the Mocs, and I just don't think that, laying the 9.5 and expecting them to win by double digits, how much value are you actually getting? Unless it's some hammer play like yesterday when I laid it with Cornell, and they ended up winning by 30. Sometimes the numbers are wrong and they can't go as high as they need to without getting action on both sides, so you have to take that in consideration as well, especially with a full slate like this. The smaller games are the ones that we want to pick. So I do talk about the marquee games, and everybody's going to want to watch on TV, but there are some games that do make more sense that just don't get as much of the handle, okay? Next is Auburn and Kentucky, okay? This is going to be one where it's very hard not to take the Wildcats as they get healthy. That number has dropped from 5.5 down to 4.5. Auburn is one of those teams, though, Johnny Broome and company, they definitely have a shot in the postseason. Bruce Pearl and company really doing a fantastic job down there. And as we look into this game a little bit deeper, there's something I wanted to allude to as we look into the numbers. Kentucky at home, this might be kind of like a Super Bowl game for that fan base, okay? So if I was going to play this game, and if you do believe Auburn's a little fugazi, 26-2, though, in 14-1 in conference, they're not Florida, and they do travel well, but it's something where I do think that the Wildcats, this is something where they are the side. They've kind of been tested. If Auburn wins this game, I have no doubt in my mind that they can't not win the NCAA tournament. Okay, because this is something where after their road kind of stretch they've been on, it's something where I do think this is a almost some kind of a measuring stick for them inside the program, and as I talked about avoiding these big games, this is kind of what I do. I don't want to get involved with this game. If I did, it would be Kentucky plus the points. And I just think that this is going to be like almost a Super Bowl venue for Kentucky. They do get a little bit healthier, and I think this is something where it could be absolutely damning for Kentucky taking on the Auburn Tigers. The one thing I will tell you guys, though, is Kentucky going against, I believe it was Oklahoma. That's something where you look into kind of the 83-82 comeback win, back and forth win, very emotional win on the road. Now they come home. The fans are ready for that. I think this is going to be a game where we carry that momentum. I would not be shocked if Kentucky won this game outright, just to being honest with you guys, but I'm not going to lay it. If I did take this game, it would be with Kentucky plus the 5.5, 6, whatever you could have found. But now at 4.5, this is almost in pass territory, okay? Next, I want to go down the board a little bit more. We do have a very interesting game within the MAC, Miami and Ohio U. The Redhawks getting 5.5, looking to be at one point the class almost in the MAC and a little bit on a downskid. And this is something where OU's been playing very, very well, only 15-13 on the season. But this is kind of one of those numbers games, right? Smaller handle, look between the numbers, and for some reason they're taking a lot of action here. This game jumped off the page at me. By my money, it's going to say that the value's at Miami, Ohio, taking that plus 210 money line. But there's something fishy about this game within the Bobcats at home, so I would lay the 5.5 as a lean within the MAC, okay? Next, let's get down the board. There's a lot of games, guys. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker than normal on this day. One game that I do want to talk about and a game that we will have an official play in. I'm going to go against the odds makers here. I'm going to go against the public. I'm going to go against the money. I will be taking Texas Tech 4.5. This number, I think, is a 5-point number. So we're right up against it. We'll see what happens. Texas Tech losing a heartbreaker at home. Patrick Mahomes, Brittany Mahomes front and center for that loss. Okay, that they did have served to them. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this is where you're going to look for a revenge spot here. Kansas, they were one of my bets to win it all this year, and I do think this is where we could get a letdown spot. Taking Houston down the wire, 69-61. I just worry that they're going to be ready physically to play this game. That's just kind of where I'm at. It's going to be hard. I know Kansas is won 3 out of their last 5. But I just can't get that shitty loss to BYU out of my memory. And the reason why I'm saying that is because any kind of good competition that Kansas has played, it's not been necessarily a good performance. And I think Texas Tech is a bad matchup. I know they're not at home. I know that you look at the money and the way it's flowing, and that Kansas is probably the right side, so to speak. Fade Texas Tech off of that tough loss against Houston. But I'm going to back the Red Raiders here. Kansas 12-15 ATS. Give me the points. I think this is something where we have value. It's more so a coin flip by the book, by the numbers, but we get a very good number here. 4.5 is some value to take down the stretch. So give me the Red Raiders in a game where I probably actually would have them as favorites in this spot, to be honest. But they go on the road playing at Allen Fieldhouse, and then we combine that with the fact that off that loss, just emotionally, where does Texas Tech, where's their minds at, right? How do they bounce back? That's what I want to see. But I will go with the Red Raiders here, plus 4.5 as an official play, all right? And I will give you guys one in full disclosure. We do have one more play in the SEC, so stay tuned for that one. One game that we are going to get into a little bit more. This is where I almost took the Ole Miss in this spot, minus 7.5. The thing that got me going about this one, though, is it's a 7.5. I'm going to pass on that. It's too big of a number. But I did want to lay it against the Sooners. And that's kind of how I feel. I pretty much have the SEC, for my opinion, figured out. Same thing goes for St. John's. These numbers are getting out of control. 20.5 laying it for the Johnnies against Seton Hall. Yeah, sure. Can they win by 21? But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I'm not getting in bed with a 21 in a game that really doesn't mean anything down the stretch for the Johnnies. Okay. Next one, LSU, Mississippi State. Oh, I wanted to take the 11.5 with LSU, but fading Mississippi State, who I think is a little bit fugazi, but it's just not enough for me. Like I said, guys, it's a LSU team that can win this game, or they can lose by 20 points, and they're not at home, so I don't really think you have an edge in that one. So I'm going to pass on that game. Next one. As we get a little bit deeper, we're going to hit about the primetime game, probably the game that everybody and their brother is going to be watching. 4 o'clock tip-off before we hit Florida. But this will be Alabama and Tennessee. Now, in this spot, the Crimson Tide are getting 3.5. You could find a juiced-up 4 out there. I don't know, guys. This could be the biggest sucker bet in the world. Tennessee's at home. Rocky Top's ready to roll. But how do you not take Alabama with points in a shootout? I know that the guard play for Tennessee has gotten considerably better, and probably, in my opinion, one of the only 5 or 6 teams in the field that can win the whole thing and win the dance. But this is kind of where we look into this game, guys. I just look at the value with Alabama. It's not something where I'm going to recommend it as a play, just because of the fact that I don't want to bet against Tennessee at home. And you look at this matchup. I've been stung a little bit with the bug with Alabama, where they just, quite frankly, drop an egg and they don't score in the first half, and your kind of backs up against it in terms of the total. But right now, guys, if you look at this, it's one of those weird spots where I can pretty much almost guarantee you that Tennessee is going to cover this number. It's very hard to pass up the Crimson Tide points. And also, I'm going to go look at ATS. Tennessee 16-11, Alabama 17-11 on the season to the over. It's very hard to pass up the over, and that would be probably my best bet in this game, going over that total of 158.5. The number has risen from 155, so you're getting the worst of it. So if you were going to get in bed with this game, make sure you get the right number, but 158.5, it's definitely 3 points above the value, and I just think it might be too late for the dance, unless you just want to take a little bit of a fun coupon on Alabama and the points. But for me, guys, I can't recommend this game, because I think that there's something fishy going on, and if anything, it would be Tennessee laying it at home, okay? So that's kind of how I feel about it. You guys can do what you want, but I'm going to be passing on a lot of these big games. No real opinion one way or another. A lot of you guys are thinking I'm taking the easy way out, but it's more so that I'll give you guys my stance. I'll let you know where my head's at, but I'm not putting my money down on a game that, quite frankly, there's going to be a lot of action both ways that you're not going to be able to sort out where the value is. In this late in the ball game, it's you call them how you see them. I like Alabama in the game, but I just don't like the fact that it's a 3.5 spot, and that just gives me a little bit of a EBGBs, if you will, that something's going on, and the odds makers are favoring Volunteers in Tennessee a little bit more so than maybe the data points and the numbers have led on to this point thus far. Okay. Next, I want to talk about some other games that we will get into, and I do have some more picks, and that's kind of where we're going to lead into the next game. Creighton, Xavier, that's another interesting one. This number has climbed a little bit. I did like me some Xavier money line at home, but this has now gotten out of control, -2.5 for the Musketeers, so I'm going to be staying away from that one. It's going to be a pass. Next game we are going to get into, though, 21-7 SMU Mustangs. Give me some Eric Dickerson and company going against the Stanford Cardinals. So, we are going to look into this. I do like SMU. I took the money line here. This is kind of where I'm at, -110. I laid it with SMU. I think that they're a little bit undervalued in the market. Stanford, sure, but not a great team. It's a little bit East goes West for this one. That's going to be a concern. But SMU, athletically, if they can make shots and not turn over the basketball, they're going to win this game with ease. So give me the SMU Mustangs within this play. One of my favorite bets of the day. And we're going to keep the SMU money rolling until it does us wrong, okay? Deeper in the board, there are 2 more games that we are going to get into. The last one that I want to talk about before we get into that, actually 3 more official bets. That's going to be the Missouri Tigers taking on Vanderbilt on the road. This is a very good game, probably the middle action right within the SEC. We're going to go Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and then finish it up with Florida. This is what I mean, guys. It's absolutely insane, the schedule that we got. But I do like Vanderbilt. That's the side I'm going to be on, +2.5 for Vanderbilt. If you look at kind of down the stretch what they're able to do, I think this is a very positive play. They've beaten a lot of strong teams on the road. At home, as such as Missouri has at home as well. So for me, guys, it's a play on the home team. It's a play with points at home. It's the SEC home field or home court advantage. And I think that's something where you look at their home resume and just kind of what they're able to do. This is where Missouri shares the same kind of values, but I do like me some Vanderbilt as they were able to beat a lot of good teams at home that, quite frankly, they're not better than. But 2.5 for Vanderbilt, that is the best side of the day in terms of edge I think that you can get. And that's where Missouri was able to outlast Vanderbilt in the last game, 75-76. Give us a 2.5 and the kind of abysmal performance they put in on the road. And I think this is something where Vanderbilt gets this one done against a Missouri team that doesn't do quite well on the road as compared to their home court stats. So Vanderbilt +2.5, one of my official plays for the Saturday card. Okay. That's where we're going to get into the last 2 picks. The next game that we are going to skip ahead to, Florida State and Duke. This is something where if you've been riding the Dukies, let it roll, okay? This is a craps roll. I got to just be as honest as I can. They've been covering huge numbers. The Vegas knows it. Now they have this one set at 23.5. Why not? Until you lose, just keep laying it with Duke. Until they lose and don't cover. But Duke has been one of those teams, guys, that has just been absolutely insane to watch. So that's kind of how I feel about taking on the Florida State Seminoles. Duke at home, lay the 23.5. That is one of my stronger leans, just kind of out of principle. Okay. Next, Georgia, Texas. This is one where there's a lot of injury concerns in this game for Texas. The Longhorns hosting the Bulldogs, 16-12 on the season. This game could end up being a money line before tip-off depending on who's actually suiting up. So I'm going to pass on this game in terms of the channel, but that's kind of how I view it. Would be Texas if they're healthy, and then I probably would fade them if they're not. Okay, but that number will move. Now, this is where we're going to keep going. Texas A&M, Florida, no play for me in this spot, but it would be Gators or nothing for me. A lot of people do like Texas A&M, getting 9.5 on the road, but I will be backing the Gators. If I was going to play this game, I think they get it done by double digits and improve to 25-4 on the season as they look to solidify that 1 seed in March, okay? Arizona, Iowa State. This is another marquee game. Iowa State's getting healthier. I would lay the 6.5 with Iowa State at home. Fading Arizona in this spot. I think that they put up a dud. So give me the Cyclones minus 6.5 if you were going to make me bet that game. And that's how I feel about it. Okay. Next. We're going to hit some of the big ones. BYU, this is one that I wanted to bet, but -9. I'm not going to look to get involved. But we will take some action here with the Dons, okay? We're not talking about Trump. We're talking about the San Francisco Dons. And this is kind of where we're going to get into taking San Francisco against Gonzaga at home. We're going to take 9 points for San Francisco. If you can find a 9.5, awesome, even better. But I do think this is kind of where you want to be at. I think this is where you look at kind of this being a high-scoring affair. Gonzaga's burnt me on some overs, but this is another strong lean towards the over as well. And Gonzaga's playing some great basketball. You look at some of the rankings and deeper analytics. Gonzaga is a top 15 team in the country, albeit 22-8. The competition always does play a role, but I do think this is something where I like San Francisco in this spot. Potentially even a upset factor here for the Dons. So I'm not calling it. I'm not going to call my shot on this, but I do like San Francisco quite a bit. I think they're going to be able to score with Gonzaga, keep pace. So give me San Francisco +9. I think this is going to be a fade Gonzaga while they're hot for me kind of spot. So I'm going to look to take this home as San Francisco as an official play, okay? And that's going to wrap it up. That is kind of my breakdown and edition of this college basketball Saturday slate. Happy March. We're back into it. Those are my best bets. Gave you guys a lot of leans along the way. I can guarantee you there's some winners in there. So use some efficiency and some time management today because there are a lot of basketball games that we're going to be watching. And, don't get into too much trouble. And it's going to be one for the ages, in my opinion. Mix that in with a little bit of hockey. And we got a recipe for a hell of a Saturday. So buckle up. Enjoy it. Appreciate you guys all being part of TBM Sports. And we'll see you guys all in the next video. Good luck on your picks. Peace.